them like eye level.
By the late 80s, skateboarding was a joke. It was all sanitized for TV, with big brands and glossy mags pushing the same half-pipe heroes like Tony Hawk. These dudes were doing polished routines on ramps, looking clean-cut and sponsored, while the real scene was brewing on the concrete. The streets were calling. Skaters started seeing the city differently. Curbs weren't just curbs, and handrails weren't just handrails. They were obstacles to be owned. While the industry was busy selling a corporate version of the sport, a raw DIY counter-revolution was already taking over, grinding and flipping its way into history. What came next wasn't evolution. It was anarchy, sparked by a skater who refused to fall in line. While the vert scene ruled the 80s, a quiet storm was brewing in the streets, a movement ready to explode. Steve Rocco saw it first and wasn't afraid to shake everything up. Rocco wasn't having any of it. He hated big brands telling skaters what was cool. So, he started World Industries, his way, no rules. The man behind the chaos, Steve Rocco. A pro skater himself, Rocco was fundamentally opposed to the industry's sanitized corporate image. He had seen the inner workings firsthand, experienced the condescension of brand owners, and felt the stifling control of a handful of companies that dictated the entire culture. He viewed skateboarding not as a business, but as a pure, unfiltered expression of rebellion and creativity. He saw a vibrant, restless energy bubbling up from the streets, a style of skating that used benches, stairs, and handrails as its canvas, an urban dance of creative destruction. This was the antithesis of the established vert scene, and Rocco knew it was the future. He founded World Industries in 1989, not just as a company, but as a direct rebellion against the establishment. His first office was a small, cluttered space in a South Bay, Los Angeles warehouse.
Skip goes, no, it's never over. Don't worry about it. No big deal. He goes, meet me tomorrow, cash out your credit card for as much money as you have, and I'll show you how to make money. So he takes me to this wood shop where these old Italian guys make bar stools and dinette sets from the 60s. I gave him all the money I had, $6,000, and I bought 500 boards. And Skip showed me how to get them screened and where to sell them. Within 3 weeks, I'd turned my $6,000 into like $12,000. And I was just blown away. It's the most money I ever had in my life.
Stark contrast to the sprawling corporate headquarters of his competitors. He had no interest in playing by their rules, so he wrote his own. When mainstream mags like Transworld and even Thrasher pushed back against his most provocative ads that directly mocked his competitors and the industry's clean-cut image, Rocco's response wasn't to back down, it was to escalate. He started his own magazine, Big Brother. Big Brother wasn't just an ad outlet, it was a brazen middle finger to the entire skate media establishment. It was filled with crude humor, offensive jokes, and a general disregard for anything that resembled good taste.
This magazine just to entertain us.
One infamous article about self-harm sparked outrage.
So now, me being a publisher, do I want to publish that with a chance of some kid might think that that's a cool thing and kill himself? And I expected Steve to say, well, no, I understand.
Barred interviews with skaters exposed the industry's hypocrisies. The magazine became an instant cult phenomenon, a raw, unfiltered voice that spoke directly to a generation of skaters who felt like outsiders. It was a lifeline for kids who were tired of the glossy corporate version of skateboarding and yearned for something authentic and dangerous. The message was clear: if you won't play our game, we'll create our own. And while Big Brother rattled the media establishment, World Industries itself was about to fill that same gap, with a new wave of raw street talent. Rocco's genius wasn't just in his chaotic marketing, it was in his uncanny ability to spot and cultivate raw, untapped talent. While other companies still clung to the fading vert scene, Rocco was building a team that would not only define street skating for a decade, but also forever shift the sport's center of gravity. He was assembling a new kind of crew, a collection of pros who embodied the new urban style of skateboarding. These weren't just athletes, they were artists, with the city as their canvas.
My mission was to take guys that were already doing it, guys like, Jeremy Klein and stuff, that I'd see at contests and go, hey, would you like to work with us and try to make better stuff and better products? And the same with Rodney and everybody else. It was more of a movement.
He intuitively understood that the future of skateboarding wasn't about big air and perfect spins. It was about style, creativity, and the rebellious spirit that used the streets as a playground. He recognized that the old guard of vert pros were becoming a thing of the past, and that a new generation, with a completely different mindset and skill set, was about to take over. He didn't just find skaters, he found a movement. First up, Rodney Mullen, flat ground legend who invented today's tricks. Daewon song, smooth, wild, flipping city skating on its head. Together, they tore it up in Rodney vs. Daewon, the street skating manifesto. While other companies were dropping riders for not conforming, Rocco saw Mullen's genius and gave him an uninhibited platform to innovate. Rodney's career was not just revived, it was reborn, and he became the face of world's new progressive approach.
In skateboarding, there are geniuses. There are the Tony Hawks and the Mark Gonzaleses. But I think Rodney is more of a peerless genius. Once he passed me up, there's nothing but blue sky. What I think is the amazing thing about what he did is not what he did. It's how he did it. That is what blows me away.
His intricate, technical skating flipped the script on the industry's focus on big airs and hand plants, and it captivated a new generation of skaters who saw a new kind of art form emerging from the concrete. Then came a young skater from Gardena, California, Daewon song. His effortless creativity on street obstacles perfectly complemented Mullen's technical mastery. Together, they became the faces of the Rodney vs. Daewon series, embodying the two sides of modern street skating. Mullen's scientific precision against Daewon's flowing artistry. They proved that the future of skateboarding wasn't in the air above a half-pipe. It was on the concrete, and World Industries was going to own it. But the team was a deep bench of innovators. Kareem Campbell, with his signature switch stances and buttery style.
Bad bitches in a Beamer, that's a big deal. Chrome heart got me kissing on his best friend. Put in work, baby, you could be my best man. Sending cash to my account, he investing. Dark shades on when I'm off the Migos. He's tryna cuff me like a nigga in a Rico.
Brought an urban swagger and a new kind of street to the brand. He pioneered the flow style, linking tricks together in a seamless, almost dance-like sequence. Chico Bernace's smooth, powerful lines and effortless pop made him a fan favorite, a skater who made impossibly difficult tricks look easy. Then there was Gino Lanucci, whose effortless, almost casual style on a board was a masterclass in understated cool. He was the epitome of the modern street skater.
I feel like Rocco really kind of corrupted those guys in many ways with money. You give a 17-year-old kid a few $1,000s.
With a style so unique it was nearly impossible to imitate. This team wasn't just a collection of pros. They were a movement, a reflection of the streets and the culture they came from. They weren't about big tricks alone. They embodied style, creativity, and a rebellious attitude that mirrored the brand itself. Their video parts in legendary films like Love Child and Trilogy became a new kind of Bible for skaters around the world, showing a style that was more accessible, relatable, and exciting than the high-flying vert antics of the past. What truly set World Industries apart was Rocco's genius for business and brand building. He didn't just create one company, he created an entire ecosystem of brands, each with its own distinct identity, aesthetic, and team. This network allowed him to dominate every segment of the street skating market and create a self-sufficient empire that didn't need the traditional skate industry to succeed.
When I started my company, do you actually think I thought it would turn into what it was? I wanted to make skateboards that we could ride with graphics that meant something to us personally. I thought we were all, dude, it's all cool. Look, we all have skateboard companies. Yay!
He understood that a singular brand, no matter how iconic, could only appeal to a certain type of skater. By creating multiple brands, he could capture different niches and personalities within the growing street scene. This was a strategic masterstroke that allowed him to control a vast market share. Instead of being a rival to other brands, World Industries and its subsidiaries became the entire game. This ecosystem created a loyal customer base that felt an allegiance not just to a single brand, but to an entire network of them, all fueled by the same rebellious spirit. It was a smart move that broke the traditional single-brand model and created a new paradigm for the industry. First came Blind Skateboards in 1989. When a disillusioned pro named Mark Gonzalez left Vision Skateboards, a major rival to Powell Peralta, he was picked up by Rocco and given his own company. Blind's early identity was the playful bubble Blind wordmark, and later Mark McKee's Grim Reaper artwork gave the brand its edge. With a team that included the legendary Jason Lee, they were a direct competitor to Vision in Santa Cruz. Blind's video Days is widely considered one of the most influential skate videos of all time. A perfect encapsulation of the raw, creative energy of early street skating, and a direct challenge to the polished productions of the old guard. Then came 101 Skateboards and Plan B Skateboards. 101, led by the legendary Natas Kaupas, was a haven for technical street skating, with a team that featured innovators like the late Keenan Milton and Chris Markovich. Then came Plan B Skateboards in 1991, founded by Mike Ternasky with Rocco and Dwindle backing. Ternasky pulled together a super team stacked with talent: Danny Way, Colin McKay, Rick Howard, and Mike Carroll. Their video virtual reality was a landmark, pushing technical and big trick skating years ahead of its time. Plan B quickly became the pinnacle of the empire, a declaration of dominance that proved Rocco's network could attract the very best. This empire of brands, World Industries, Blind, 101, and Plan B, operated in a friendly symbiotic competition. They shared resources, artists, and a singular rebellious vision. But most importantly, they allowed Rocco to capture a huge market share. If you were a street skater in the 90s, you were likely riding a board from one of Rocco's companies, and this was by design. He had successfully taken on the old guard and created a new, modern, and completely dominant system from the ground up. With the empire in place, the brand's marketing smashed conventions and shocked the industry. World's graphics were wild. Cartoons, flames, jokes, sometimes offensive. Flameboy and Wet Willie trolled every brand, and skaters loved it. Their marketing was pure, unadulterated madness. While other brands were putting out glossy, inspirational ads, World Industries used crude, funny, and deeply offensive graphics to mock their competitors. They didn't shy away from controversy.
You know, George, pal, you're going to run a full-page ad making fun of small companies? You know, you're going to get kicked in the balls, dude.
They actively sought it out. The infamous Lynch Mob graphic, a satirical take on the hip-hop group of the same name, featured an offensive caricature that caused a huge uproar.
I think what was appealing to Steve is there's absolutely no ethical boundaries to these characters. Good is Wet Willie, bad is Flameboy. The guy who's sort of adjudicating is the Devil Man. So it's already a really strange kind of idea.
While the artists and skaters involved said it was a joke, the graphic became one of the most controversial in skate history, showing just how far Rocco was willing to push the envelope. This kind of shock value marketing was a deliberate strategy to distinguish the brand from the mainstream and to attract the most rebellious elements of the skate community. At the center of this marketing storm were their iconic cartoon mascots, Flameboy and his mischievous sidekick, Wet Willie. These characters weren't just logos. They were the brand's voice and its weapons. They were used in ads to directly troll rivals, a practice that was unheard of at the time. They'd lampoon the clean-cut aesthetic of other brands, turning the wholesome world of skateboarding on its head with their low-brow humor and subversive antics. The board graphics themselves were a work of art and defiance, primarily designed by the legendary Mark McKee. His work was a direct reflection of Rocco's vision.
The first time I drew it was for our receptionist's birthday card invitation, and I showed it to Steve.
It wasn't until Mark McKee drew the Devilman graphic that I realized this is how we could beat Girl. This is something that they not only can't do, they won't do it, and this is how we'll win.
Hilarious, crude, and often deeply offensive. The Lynch Mob graphic was one of many that caused a stir.
It was pure strategy from Steve to start Wet Willie, Flameboy, and Devilman. I mean, he'd had a mutiny of team riders, and he was going to make sure it didn't happen again.
Over in Big Brother magazine, outrageous pieces like How to Kill a Skateboarder pushed the same irreverent spirit, showing gory and absurd ways a skater could meet their end. A far cry from the stylized logos and sanitized pro model ads of their competitors. This unique approach to product design and marketing made World Industries boards more than just a piece of wood with wheels. They were a statement, a badge of honor for those who wanted to reject the mainstream. Their skate videos, especially the legendary Love Child, pushed the scene forward with innovative riding and raw street progression. These videos captured the energy and spirit of a team redefining skateboarding, setting a new standard for skate media, and inspiring an entire generation. This chaotic mix of incredible skating and lowbrow humor created a cult following. It was a breath of fresh air for a skate scene that had become stale and predictable. They proved that you could be successful by not only being different, but by being outright offensive to the establishment. By the late 1990s, World Industries had firmly established itself as the dominant force in skateboarding. Their edgy, rebellious spirit was at the heart of a cultural revolution, turning underground skate culture into a global phenomenon.
When we introduced Devilman, Flameboy, and Wet Willie, our sales on decks tripled in 1 year, which is huge. World Industries had just...
From boards to shoes and apparel, World Industries was not just a brand, it was a statement. Its bold graphics, crazy advertising, and refusal to conform captured the spirit of a generation. Financially, the company was thriving, with gross sales escalating from $12 million in 1996 to a staggering $25 million by the late 90s. This rapid growth reflected World Industries' powerful market presence and the loyal community that embraced its raw, irreverent energy. Yet, success invited change. In 1998, Steve Rocco and his partners sold a 70% stake in the company to a private equity firm, Swander Pace Capital, which valued World Industries at $29 million. This move was historic. It made World Industries one of the earliest publicly traded skate brands. While this infusion of capital and corporate muscle promised growth, it also marked the beginning of a shift away from the founder-led, skater-centric ethos.
As the companies grew, they became somewhat more corporate.
The scrappy, rebellious startup gradually morphed into a conventional business. As management changed, so did the face of the brand. The wild, provocative mascots, Flameboy and Wet Willie, once symbols of skateboarding's rebellious undercurrent, began appearing on family-friendly merchandise, from lunchboxes to apparel available in mainstream retail outlets. This commercialization expanded the brand's reach, but alienated many long-term supporters who felt betrayed by the softening of its identity. For some, it was the slow death of the raw, street-level attitude that had made World Industries unique.
Skateboarding had no rules before, but if you want skateboarding and everything to get bigger, things change.
In parallel, the core team that had carried World's spirit began to fracture. Key riders who epitomized the brand's edgy, streetwise attitude left to pursue other opportunities, while the company brought on new talent that lacked the fire and authenticity of the originals. The sense of community and countercultural spirit loosened as the brand grew into a corporate entity. World Industries was no longer just a skate company. It was part of a greedy wave of corporate greed taking over action sports. The shift accelerated in 2002 when Globe International Limited, an Australian company, acquired Cubic Marketing, the parent company that controlled World Industries. This acquisition integrated World into a broader portfolio of sport and lifestyle brands, offering global distribution and marketing advantages at the cost of some independence and authenticity. The brand's original DIY spirit seemed increasingly distant, replaced by strategic brand management and traditional corporate goals.
You talk about the word, corporate. You guys are corporate. And you were everything that you didn't want to be or said you wouldn't be. And yeah, that's hard. I wrestle with that a lot. Like, am I?
Despite the decline in its grassroots identity, World Industries left a lasting mark on skateboarding and youth culture. Steve Rocco's pioneering approach, rejecting traditional corporate models in favor of raw talent support, provocative marketing, and skater ownership, reshaped the skate industry. His strategy showed that staying true to skater culture, even with humor and controversy, could coexist with commercial success. The brand's reverberations are felt today. Its legacy inspired a new generation of skate entrepreneurs and independent companies, proving that authenticity and rebelliousness are powerful in building cultural movements. Every brand that claims skater-owned or embraces an anti-establishment vibe owes a debt to World Industries' trailblazing role. The flame of the original World Industries may have burned out, but for a generation of skaters, it lit the way. This was the brand that gave kids a voice, flipped the industry on its head, and proved skateboarding could belong to the streets. But when the money rolled in, that spirit was sold to the highest bidder. The logos ended up on lunchboxes. The raw edge was sanded down, and the company that once mocked the system became just another part of it. Still, the defiance Rocco and his crew sparked never fully died. Every skater who rides for the love of it, every brand that puts culture over corporations, is carrying a piece of World's rebellion forward. What about you? Did World Industries shape the way you saw skateboarding? Drop your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And if you want more untold chapters from skate history, click here for the next video. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching and stay wicked.